Hey there, everybody. It's your old pal Michael. Gonna do another running recap. This one is the 2015 Kalamazoo Area Runners Turkey Trot. And it's very weird on Thanksgiving today because it was at least 50 degrees when we were running. Rain was in the forecast, but actually it held off for most of the race. I actually didn't feel any drops, so I crossed the finish line. And if you watched my WMU Turkey Trot recap, we actually had a snowstorm come through that day. Winter Storm Bella came through, provided for some nasty conditions while running. We had slushy roadways, we had rain and snow, so a little bit of wind in there as well. Led to a lot slower time for me. I ran 23:49 that day. Today, really almost no snow on the ground, just a little bit of wind. Didn't really slow me down though. I mean, I was more concerned about catching everybody in front of me than I was about the wind. So got there probably about 45 minutes before the race started. This is at the exact same place where I ran the Portage Invitational earlier this year, where I got in a time of 2022, something like that. It was definitely my fastest time there ever. Wasn't going to run hard today just because of the fact I had stopped doing all my speed work. And so I was just going to take it easy. So what's unique about this race is that you actually predict your time beforehand, what you want to run. So I said when I'm registering, I'll run like a 23:30. And what I've always done during this race is if I predict a slow time, I run fast, and if I predict a fast time, I run slow. So I kind of actually followed that trend today. And I'm going to tell you right now, I did something actually yesterday I shouldn't have done. And then I drank like 3 Pepsis and a Sunkist. And you never ever want to drink pop a day before a race, just because all that sugar will slow you down. Once you get into the race, you'll probably cramp up. So I actually forgot to bring my water bottle with me this morning. Thank goodness I already had all the drinks set up. So I grabbed a water bottle and just chugged it after I got my gear. And that actually did help me during the race. I got out there probably about 5 minutes before the race started. I mean, we were sitting in the cafeteria. I had already stretched. I decided, well, let's wait inside where it's warm. We went out there. I saw my former high school cross-country teammates and friends, Shannon and Hannah. So they were participating in the run today, so that was great to see them out there. And we all started pretty much close to the front. I didn't start right in the front. We actually had a mat we crossed at the start of the race, so our time didn't start till we actually had crossed the mat at that time. And I mean, I didn't go out hard to start. I mean, I'm just kind of going out at a pretty medium pace. We go charging up the first hill, and then we hit the downhill, or we go around, we hit the downhill. It's a little bit different than the cross-country course. You actually don't take the same downhill you actually take during that. And when you go on the outside of the course, you're running up the hill. You actually are on the sidewalk instead of running up this hill, down, and then up again. So I don't know why they changed it up, but that's just what they did. And I mean, it's okay. It's not that big of a deal. And there was at least 1,000 of us there for this race. So I wanted to make sure I was up at the front because once we got down the hill and we're going around the tennis courts and coming back through and we're heading for the outside of the course, you can just see this mass of people coming down the hill. I mean, it was just so great to see so many runners out, especially on Thanksgiving Day, which was a day where you think, well, not a lot of people are going to go out running, but it's just great to see people out there exercising, being fit, having fun. I mean, it's just a great event that the Kalamazoo Area Runners put on. So anyways, once we get actually down the hill, then I'm just going to pick off any runners I can. So I'm passing people like left and right, and there's people like slowing down, so I'm passing them. We get up, we go through the woods. There was actually a guy I saw last week, and I recognized him by his sweatshirt, Portage Northern sweatshirt, that he had beat me in the Turkey Trot last week. So I was like, he's not beating me today. So I passed him in the woods. We got out of the woods. We're going along the side. This is at the point where the wind is really blowing at our face. Wasn't really slowing me down, though. I was just focused on picking off people left and right. We head around the bend, turn right again, and now we're going back around for the second loop. Didn't get any water at the water stop. Didn't really need it. And I'm actually feeling really good at this point. So that water that I had really was helping me out. So I was going along strong. I felt good. I knew I was going a lot faster than what my predicted time was. And the thing about the prediction run is you're not actually supposed to have any timing devices like a watch or an iPad, or not an iPad, but you're not going to have one of those, but an iPod on you or an iPhone. But they actually said, I don't care if you actually have one, but, don't be checking your, splits at the mile markers. So that way then you're like, oh, I'm going too fast. And then all of a sudden you just see someone like really slow down or start walking just to help get their pace going. So I didn't really see anybody doing that. I thought everyone was pretty honest doing that. And I mean, even if they did it, I mean, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, you get a medal at the end, which would be nice to have. But I was obviously way off, and you'll hear my time in a minute. So we go up the hill the second time. A couple of runners I had passed just before the hill passed me again, but then I passed them right back. Go down the hill. I saw there was a kid in front of me that was wearing a Russell Wilson jersey, and because I'm a Denver Broncos fan, and they had crushed them a couple of years ago in the Super Bowl, I'm like, I got to beat this guy. So I passed him, and I was just passing, doing the same loop, passing everybody left and right. A lot of people I was actually passing. I don't know where I finished overall in the race. I just know in my age group I was 5th overall. All right, so we come out of the woods, and I told you that I saw my friends Shannon and Hannah there, and they weren't sure what they were going to run. They predicted like 22:30 or something along those lines. And here I see Shannon in front of me, and I'm like, whoa, what the heck? I didn't even see her pass me during the race. Maybe she did. Maybe she was always in front of me, and I just didn't know it. But I remember I passed Hannah pretty early on, but I thought I had passed Shannon as well. But I guess I hadn't, or if she passed me back, I was just totally oblivious to it. So we're going along the stretch on the outside, and then turning again and coming toward the finish line. I'm trying to like catch her as best I can. Well, I forgot how great of a kick she had. She's like dueling this girl that's up at least 50 yards in front of us, so there's no way I'm going to catch her. So I'm just like looking at the couple of guys around me, and I just start sprinting, trying to beat them. And I'm like, and I mean, I actually had a little bit more of a kick today because I wasn't running as hard as what I usually would for a race. And as soon as I caught this one guy, all of a sudden he started sprinting. They still both. There was another guy that ended up passing me too. They both beat me to the end. But, I mean, it was still nice to actually have a finishing kick there. So I crossed the line. There was no finishing time there. That's just because of the fact if people could see their time and they're like, oh, I'm close to my predicted time, they just start slowing their pace coming in. So I grabbed a few more drinks. I actually grabbed a couple of energy drinks, a couple of Arnold Palmer teas, got some Big B hot chocolate, which was fantastic, got myself a water, some pretzels, went out to my car, grabbed my stuff, came back in. By that time, the times were up there. And I looked and I got 21:27, and I thought, whoa, that's pretty good for not running hard recently. And that was about just a little over a minute slower than what I had ran there back in October for the Portage Invitational. If I hadn't injured my knee, I would have ran in my spikes today, and I probably would have tried to predict the time what I had run back then, which actually back on the day of the Portage Invitational, it was actually in the 40s versus today in the 50s. So, and I wore Under Armour too. I wore my Lions shirt because it's Thanksgiving and they're obviously playing. Wore gloves, and I felt like I was getting really warm, but I didn't get overheated. If I probably had raced, I would have. So, it was a great day to run. Obviously, I was nowhere close to the time I predicted, but I mean, usually when I do these, I'm nowhere near it anyways. I remember actually a couple of years ago, I went to a movie actually the night before. I went and saw Red Dawn. And I had sour Skittles and popcorn, and that wasn't a good combination to have the day before a race. And I think I predicted I was going to run a fast time that day, ended up running a really slow, terrible time. And actually, I think the Portage Invitational course was actually a little under construction because they had us run a different route that day. But this is definitely probably the warmest turkey trot I've taken part in. And I think my first one, I'm trying to remember I took part in, I think was when I was like a sophomore or a junior in high school. And I'd like found out about the event, so I was like, hey, let's do it on Thanksgiving Day. So I went down, ran in it, and there was probably only 100 of us or so. And this was, like I said, about 10 years ago, so it was a really small event. Kind of like the Run Through the Lights, which I'll be doing next week, actually. That's going to be on another Thursday night. And that's just a fun run. So that's kind of like the run that will cap off my season. This was the last race of the season that I actually will race Next week's just a fun run. It's kind of like, if you think about it, it's kind of like, what the Pro Bowl is in the NFL. Just something to really cap off the season. It's kind of what this is, the way I look at it, just something fun to cap off the season. And before we start the new year with the 1-1 run and then all the marathon training, which I will have a vlog every day that I will be running to detail how my marathon training is going. So yeah, that run through the lights only had about 100 so people the first time I did it, and now both events have over at least 1,000 people participating, and it's just great that everybody gets out there for both the runs because they're both on Thursdays. This one, of course, is in the morning on a holiday, and the run through the lights is on a Thursday night. So it's great to see everybody get out there for both these events. So we'll talk to you then for the run through the lights next Thursday. And thank you for watching this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And thank you for subscribing to my channel. And if you haven't subscribed, you can subscribe for more content. Follow me on Twitter. I'll post a link to that in the description below. This is Michael Loudon, over and out for the 2015 Kalamazoo Area Runners Turkey Trot Recap.